Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 3.39. We are barreling towards the climax.
Yeah, okay. Whatever, buddy. We're 39 chapters in. I don't believe anything anymore. This arc never ends. This arc is longer than some actual novels.
How dare
you know that?
I didn't know that.
If you do...
I suspected.
Think about it. Because each of these, on average, has been, 6 to 10 pages, so let's say 8. Do 8 times 39 right now in your head. That's like a little... Sorry, it's 390 minus 78, so 312 pages. And this is single-spaced, by the way, and in Google Docs, which are bigger than, novel-sized books, yeah? So this would probably be about 400 pages in a novel. Think about that. That's how fucking long this arc is.
I could have written a novel while I was writing this arc.
This is a novel. If Aetheral Space ever becomes a book, this will have to be its own fucking book, unless you do, giant-ass Aragon or Lord of the Rings-length books. The Silmarillion of Aetheral Space. You don't realize it because I'm sure you think of it as a web serial, but you're a legitimate author, and this is already officially novel-sized. More than that, Aetheral Space. So congratulations. I mean, that's what you get for working on something every day for over a year now.
Hell yeah.
Close to a year. You started in, when did you start Aetheral Space? I know we recorded in June, but you were writing before that.
I don't remember the exact date. It was sort of mid last year.
Yeah, so we're very close to a year on Aetheral Space. Think about that. You've been writing something for a year. That's something to be proud of.
Yay.
Yeah, now go take it to a publishing company and make a lot of money. Right now.
No.
I swear to God, if by the end of 2021 I can't buy Dragon merch, I will kill you. I don't even want Dragon merch. Why did I say that? I want Muzazi merch. I want a Muzazi body pillow that I can hug, and it says Luminescence Chan.
You are very honorable.
You are very honorable. Thank you, Muzazi.
You flip it over as a version of it being hit by a stun bolt.
No! Those are his only two sprites in the dating sim of Aetheral Space. is smug, officer and getting hit by stun bolt. And it's just used for his general anytime he's in agony. Sprite
with the bolt flying towards him.
Yeah. It's like an animation. It repeats like a kid. Yeah. So he's just mad about something you just see over and over. Okay, fuck. We're reading a thing. Yeah. Last time, Dragon and Rayon busted out Muzazi, and he was like, Dragon! And Dragon was like, eat my ass. And also, Skipper and the Fifth Dead went to a helicopter, and Chael was there. And he was like, don't worry, I won't kill you, President, just because I killed the last president. And the guy was like, oh, whatever. And then we didn't hear from the good characters, a.k.a. Ruth and Bruno and Serena. So, we'll see about that. I'm just kidding. Every character is good except for Dragon. I'm kidding. Tan?
You don't like Dragon? Turn around. I want to show you something.
No! What's that you're holding in your hand? It's making electricity noises.
It's the pen I used to write the story.
Wait, who's Lita? Is that a character we've ran into yet?
No, it's not a name we've heard before.
Okay. And you're certain security will apprehend him? Asked Lita cautiously. You really gotta stop using said so much, man. You gotta change it up. Her eyes flicking around the function room. The room, usually empty and populated only by dust, had been done up in record time, stocked with tables and chairs enough for Talden's finest to make themselves at home. Paper lanterns floated seatably. What does that word mean?
That doesn't mean anything. That's misspelling of steadily. Serenely, even.
I thought you used some advanced word I didn't know. Floated serenely? I was like,
that's
what's
how Shakespeare did it.
Lanterns floated serenely through the air, giving the lighting a unique, shifting quality. Okay, I'm glad I read that right in time. I thought it said shitting for a second. Guests milled about, and at tables snacked away at the, to be frank, obscene portions they'd been provided with. What is this, America? The stage at the head of the room was empty for the moment, save for the plinth that Chael would be making his address from. The table the three were sitting at was a little ways away from the rest. Not so far that you'd consciously notice, but just far away that you'd feel that separation between you and them. This was a table for kingmakers, after all. Lita Ebrianda, known to others as the sponsor of plenty, was a short, mousy woman with suspicious eyes. Her hair looked as if every encounter with a brush was a fight for its life, and even done up as it was, tufts of it stuck out from the main mass rebelliously. She clasped her hands together anxiously on the table in front of her, as if to stop them from moving. The young man sat across from her, smiled, in what was presumably an attempt to reassure, but nothing could have reassured Lita in this current situation. "Well," the young man said, "if you would ask me, my friend, and rest assured I will approach this query as if you were directing it directly towards my personage. The best thing to do at this point is to trust. Yes, trust, foremost among virtues. Trust that the measures we have put into place are sufficient. After all, it is true. Is this the fucking sponsor of industry?
It's not the one that doesn't shut the fuck up.
I'm trying to remember which one that is.
Expansion was the other one.
Expansion? Yeah. After all, so this is not the old man. After all, it is true, is it not, that the sense of danger, of caution that I'm sure you feel, that is a vital part of our stratagem. Your worry is the proof that we are proceeding correctly." Lita blinked slowly, allowing the verbal tsunami to crash over her. Despite Ura mid-Variandi's rambling, grandfather... Oh, so it is the old guy.
Well,
Grandfatherly
he sounds
tone.
old.
The sponsor of expansion was the youngest among the sponsors. As he rambled, he rubbed away at his shaved head. "Not so loud," the third of their number said, his voice cold and calm. Sant Titanos used the form of a silver horse as the sponsor of industry, but he gave off the impression of a vulture more than anything else. It wasn't his appearance, he was a fairly nondescript old man, the closest thing to a unique characteristic being an ever so slight hunch, but in his eyes you could see the gaze of a vulture. It was as if all the world was a rotting carcass that he was observing from far above. Lita sniffed. "Wasn't War supposed to be here? Why isn't he here?" If he was nervous about the situation in the least, Sant didn't show it. He simply steepled his fingers and addressed them. Excuse me. Which one's Sant? Fuck.
He's industry.
No, I'm just gonna... Okay. So, old guy?
Yeah.
He simply steepled his fingers and addressed them.
"This was my plan, not War's. It's unsurprising that he'd decide not to participate. Still disappointing, though."
Ura nodded. Yes, disappointing in the extreme. I know I am not the only one who thinks this, but I do feel as though, personally, of course, the sentiment comes from me alone. My god, this is like talking to a fucking Redditor. As though I am the only one willing to say, to give voice to this opinion. Our fellowship is one that runs on camaraderie, in a sense that we are fighting together against our colossal and utterly implacable enemies. When I feel the warmth of friendship from the both of you, my concern is that War, who I hold the highest regard for, otherwise, of course, does not quite understand this facet of our partner. It's like constantly covering his own ass. I hate him so much. Oh my god, I just want to punch his fucking face. He's not even real. Lita blinked.
"Quite. I will say this," Sant said, leaning in slightly closer. "The anxieties you are feeling are proof that this trap is properly set. The citizen must believe that he has a good chance of eliminating us here. Nervousness among us will assure him that this is true. But make no mistake, it is not."
"How so?" Lita asked, leaning forward as if to match him. His gaze flicked down to the floor, as if he could see right through its depths.
"The Fifth Dead patrols the unseen parts of the Dawn House. If the citizen attempts entrance through those methods, he will be found quickly. And should he get in here..."
Sant looked over to the fat end of the
Not
room.
the far end of the
tuxedo. Once again, I thought that was like some obscure way of wording that I didn't understand. Where a man in a tuxedo was leaning against the wall. His arms were crossed. Oh my god, YouTuber? And his body language suggested nothing more than quiet laziness. But there was an unmistakable deadly gleam in his eyes. "That's him, then?" Lita said, finding herself a little intrigued despite her best efforts. "That's Skipper?" Sant nodded.
"Doesn't look like much, does he?"
"I'd imagine that's what you want in an assassin. Or a bodyguard." Ura hummed agreeably. Of course you would, my friends. That is the core of it. Yes, the core of it, indeed." Sant smiled thinly as he watched the room.
"The citizen will likely make his attack as I introduce Chael for his speech. Our friend Skipper will make his move then as well, and eliminate the threat." He turned back to them. "My friends," he said, "we approach checkmate."
Fucking Operation John Wilkes Booth. Hang on, sorry, my nose is bleeding. Can you take over for this one?
Oh yeah, sure. It was the power of the story overwhelmed you.
No, it's just allergies.
Give me one.
I mean,
reason.
yeah, your story's so good, it made me emotional.
No, I mean, it just like did physical harm to you. Give me one reason I should trust you, Hadrian, said Musashi, glaring daggers at the coadjutor even as he was released from his restraints. I can't, said Hadrian, taking a step back from the deactivated seat. Musashi's eyes narrowed. And why is that? There aren't any, Hadrian shrugged. I'm untrustworthy no matter which way you look at it. You don't have a choice, though. I could reach out and snap your neck. It was true, he could.
I mean, what does he mean he doesn't have a choice? He's already been, busted out. Like, what else is left?
He could feel it again now, the strength bestowed by his Aether returning to him. A bright white spark ran across his arm, running between it and the arm of the chair. A wonderful feeling. It was as if he'd only been half a person over the last week, and was only now returning to completion. The other newcomer, the man Musashi had fought against on the night of the Nine, stepped forward. Quell your anger, Toy Musashi, he urged, as grandiose as ever. You may have your differences with this fellow, but I owe him a debt of thanks. His neck must remain unsnapped.
I love debt of thanks. It sounds like something someone who was trying to sound fancy would say.
Musashi glared at the man for a moment, remembered himself, and sighed as he got from the chair. For the moment you will live, Hadrian, he said through gritted teeth. But do not think you can catch me by surprise again. Your betrayal is inevitable.
This is the part when the story's like 8 arcs later, and this is like in an anime where like someone will make a meme of Curb Your Enthusiasm playing, and it'll go to when Dragon shoots him in the back again later.
Hadrian nodded. Fair enough, he said. Anyway, we need to get back to the main control room and secure it. If my humble personage may be so bold, Mr. Hadrian, the third, Rayanch, if Musashi remembered correctly, said, I would advise we leave this place at once. Entrenching ourselves would only give our enemies a target to unleash their counterattack upon. Despite his misgivings, Musashi found himself joining in their planning. I have to agree, he said. We should make our exit as quickly as possible before they can fully understand what has happened.
Sorry, I read a slight bit ahead, and it's funny.
Hadrian shook his head. No. Musashi furrowed his brow. He would have expected Dragon Hadrian to relish the prospect of a cowardly retreat above all else.
It's just funny because that sounds like some shit that would come directly out of your mouth. I thought you loved cowardly retreats, coward. Confused.
No, repeated Hadrian. I have it on good authority that something extreme is about to happen here on Talden. If there's a clue about what that is here, I need to find it. He glanced downwards as if crestfallen. I suppose if you really feel so strongly about it, you two could make your escape and I'll stay behind to find out what's going on.
He's playing on their fucking honor thing! It's like, I guess I'll have to do it by myself, like guilt-tripping the fucking guy he shot in the back.
Rayanch clenched his fist, holding it in front of him as he vehemently shook his head, his braid whipping dangerously through the air. No! He cried. You saved my life. I owe you a debt that cannot be easily repaid. You will not stand alone so long as Rayanch Patel breathes.
The funniest part about Rayanch Patel is every time I hear Patel, I think of Matthew Patel from fucking Scott Pilgrim.
Musashi knew what he was doing. Of course Musashi knew what he was doing. Hadrian was being so transparent about it, there was hardly even a trick. Still, even if he knew, I'm not letting you out of my sight, Hadrian.
Cursed personality.
He growled, glaring daggers. Once this is finished, you're coming back to the supremacy with me. You'll answer for what you've done. Hadrian smiled.
I love this because it's... The interesting thing about Musashi is he's gone from being like a very clear, rigorous stereotype of like the Paragon honor guy to like, he's starting to become a little bit of a deconstruction of it, right? Like he knows he's being used. He knows people have used him before and he's still like stuck in these old patterns. And it's kind of actually like, beyond the comedy of it, is interesting to read. Is he's like, it's so ingrained in his nature, but he knows that these people are fucking with him, you know?
Hadrian smiled, and Musashi couldn't help but feel as if he'd just stepped into a viper's nest. Sure thing. He wouldn't take those words as gospel then. If we'd learned anything about Dragon Hadrian, it was that he lied as easily as he breathed.
You sit on the throne of lies, Hadrian! He's like, actually, I'm on a wooden chair right now. It's kind of comfy.
Musashi sighed and took a step forward out of the room, noting with displeasure that his footwork had become somewhat clumsy over the last week. He'd have to work on that. Did you bring luminescence? He asked, peering down the empty hallway, listening to the blaring alarms. Hadrian's voice was confused. Who? Ah, of course. My sword. I take it you haven't if you haven't yet offered it to me. He'd have to find luminescence before he left this place then. He couldn't abandon her any more than he could abandon a part of his own body. For the time being, though, he'd need a substitute. As he grunted,
So how important is luminescence to him on a scale of like, this is a sentimental item to I will literally die if I don't have this?
He wouldn't die, but he really, really wants it. It's
Is
very
it like his
important.
GF?
No.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if it was like given to him by like a family member, or if it was like the sword he fought his freedom with, or I'm just curious. Or if he's just really, really chuny, and it's just like a standard issue sword.
As he grunted as he knelt down outside the hallway where the piping ran through, with a grunt and a spark of white aether, he pulled a chunk of the pipework free and turned it over in his hands. The balance wasn't half bad, and the way he'd ripped it free had left a jagged edge that could suffice for stabbing. As he focused and his aether flowed into the pipe, giving it a pale white glow. It was no luminescence, but it would serve. Yes, it would serve.
I love that he's like this badass like military soldier, and his power is like almost exclusively used for skateboarding.
Well, he's using it as a weapon, not to skateboard.
Yeah, but I assume the way it's described, he's doing that thing where he's going to jump on it in Silver Surfer. Yeah.
No.
Oh, he's just got it like hovering around him like a readied weapon. Because he did that with his sword. Remember, he Silver Surfered. I thought that was like
he's just holding it and just sort of infusing it.
He's like Marty McFly. All right, do you want me to take over, or do you want to keep going?
Yeah, sure. You take it over for a bit.
What do you mean you're not coming? Growled Noelle, already behind the driver's seat of the car. Marie offered an apologetic smile. It's a simple statement, sweetie. I meant just what I said. They were just outside the abandoned hotel they'd been using as a temporary base. The citizen had finally got back in contact, letting them know that he needed them to infiltrate the Dawn House ASAP. Noelle had rushed to the car as fast as her little legs could carry her, but Marie had stopped just outside. Noelle's hands, old and new, tightened around the steering wheel. Why not? She hissed. Marie took a step back, stuffing her hands into the pockets of her jacket. I told you already, didn't I, sweetie? We were only working together until I could break Ola Toy out. I have it on good authority that opportunity is finally knocked. And whatever your boss is planning, sounds like it would be the perfect distraction, yeah? So it's time for me to bid you adieu. For a moment, it seemed as if Noelle would take the news well. A second later, however, she thumped her fist against the steering wheel, cyan aether sparking around it. You can't do this, she said quietly, glaring intensely at the windscreen in front of her. Marie shrugged, taking another step back onto the platform. I can and I am, sweetie. Them's the breaks, I'm afraid. What's the problem, anyway? You're perfectly capable. The first time Noelle opened her mouth, only a hollow cracking noise came out of it. Then the second time, you said you'd work for me, that I'd be in charge. You're a liar. You were just using me. I wasn't in charge. A sigh escaped Marie's lips. She supposed you could only act conniving and in control for so long before admitting that you had no control at all. She leaned into the car. Listen. Noelle still didn't look at her. What? She muttered. Listen. I love this. It's like a mom talking to her kid. Marie said again, you're what, like 8? That got Noelle's attention. For the briefest of moments, Marie was exposed to the full strength of her glare. I'm 14. Same difference. Coming from someone like Marie, that really meant something. The point is, well, imagine your life's a book. You're hardly out of the prologue, and you're complaining that you don't know what's going on. Of course you don't. The story hasn't started yet. Noelle snorted. You get that out of a self-help book? Of course not. She lied. She'd spent a few hidden years looking through whatever philosophy she could find after she'd started. I'm telling... Wait, what?
Huh?
Started what? What did she start to?
Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
I'm telling you this from experience, kid. You're not suited to this sort of thing. She really isn't an artificial fucking being, isn't she? She's like a panacea scurrant. That inspired another glare. Excuse me? There are people who enjoy the sort of things we do, Marie explained. Having your life be a constant fight? I enjoy it. My friend a toy enjoys it. I imagine your citizen enjoys it. You want to enjoy it, but you don't. You're just not the right kind of person for it. So... Noelle's hands tightened around the steer. How did Noelle even fucking work for this guy in the first place?
She's got the hacker
You're saying
skills.
I don't have... You're saying I don't have what it takes. Yes, Marie was merciless. If those are the words you want me to say, you don't have what it takes. You never will. You're free to keep going like this, but, she shrugged, it'll never make you happy. Waste of time, if you ask me. And with that, Marie turned back around and began walking back into the old abandoned district, her only company the ruined promenades and crumbling attractions. A moment later, she heard the car take off, zooming away as fast as it would go. Run away is... Wait, who's thinking?
Mary.
Run away as fast as you like, she thought. Reality always catches up eventually. With that little episode resolved, Marie put a finger to the communicator in her ear. Petrio, you still there? The calm, cool voice of Alden Petrio, information broker and general know-it-all, came out clearly. Yes, Miss Hazard. I trust the information I've sent over has piqued your interest. She nodded. Sorry I'm so awkward. Oh my god, my allergies have been really bad. I'm like nose bleeding and stuffy as hell. Oh my god. She nodded, grinning as she walked in the direction of her own transport. A speed bike she'd sneakily brought over in case she ever needed a quick getaway from the citizens' crew. But of course, if there's been an incident at the prison, there'll be no better chance to break a toy out. And then they could be free of this rock. She'd gone along with the toy's vendetta against Dragon Hadrian because it had seemed amusing at the time, but the way things had gone had all but dashed her enthusiasm. She'd decided, no more honor quests for her. By the way, said Alden over the communicator, there's something else you might want to be aware of. What happened next served as Alden's reply better than any words ever could. There was a sudden, intense pain in Marie's stomach, and as her march jerked to a halt, she could see a substantial splash of blood and gut fragments paint, I assume, the concrete in front of her. Her blood. Her guts. I don't appreciate being threatened. Alden's voice was filled with venom, the most emotions she'd ever heard in it. She looked down. There, protruding from her stomach, was the business end of a harpoon. It was painted red by its journey through Marie's body, and as she watched the spikes on its surface jutted out to keep it in place, she suppressed a scream as the additional blade stabbed into her insides. As her body sent all the pain signals it could muster, she didn't have the concentration to turn them off. Marie turned her head back to look for the source of the weapon. It wasn't much of a mystery. No fucking way! No fucking way! Oh, I wish I was less sick for this right now. Oh my fucking god. The harpoon had pierced right through her back, and it was connected to a chain that led right to the source. A harpoon gun, held by that idiot Dennis! He grinned at her as their eyes met. He seemed much less cowardly after stabbing someone that I forgot his fucking voice. You get what you deserved, he breathed, giddy from the illusion of victory. Yeah, you get what you fucking deserve! That's why I'm doing a Joker voice, fuck it. As if on cue, more spikes of pain speared into Marie's body, additional harpoons firing out of the shadows, striking into her arms and legs. How is he still alive? The attackers who'd sent them, holding harpoon guns just like Dennis, stepped out of the shadows, chains tinkling as they brushed against the ground. You really are an unusual person, Alden's calm voice came over the communicator. I'm certain that first shot severed your spinal cord, yet you're still standing. I've heard of individuals with healing aether before. The Supremacy Supreme had several abilities for that purpose. But this is something else, isn't it? Marie ignored the question, instead forcing words out through the pain. Whatever happened to the corporate ant? She hissed. Going with the best bet for survival. My philosophy hasn't changed in the least, Miss Hazard. Alden's voice was casual, as if ordering something in a restaurant. You simply made the mistake of assuming you were, as you put it, the best bet for survival. The already excruciating pain through Marie's body intensified, and as she looked around at her attackers, she understood why. They'd activated some kind of secondary function of the harpoon guns, and now the chains connecting the guns and the harpoons were being pulled taut. Marie was being forced into 5 directions at once, and she could feel her muscles tearing under the strain, her bones dislocating in an attempt to accommodate the pressure. Goodbye, Miss Hazard, Alden concluded. My analysis suggests this will be enough to deal with you. I have other matters to attend to. The communicator clicked off. The sound of tearing meat filled the square as copious amounts of blood began to pour liberally from the opening gashes on Marie's body. The pull of the harpoons were strong, and they were lodged in well. They'd take her body parts with them rather than being freed by the pulling. I'm surprised they managed to get through her body. Didn't she block a bat before?
That was sort of a blunt object, is the thing.
Yeah. Dennis and his cohort smirked as... Right. Dennis and his cohort smirked as Marie, who'd effortlessly humiliated them not so long ago, screamed, the noise transitioning into some unidentifiable rasping screech that went on and on and on. The smirks died when they realized what that noise actually was. Laughter. You think? muttered Marie, pulling her limbs back, bringing the thugs towards her by the chains with the movement. Oh, fuck. Their feet scraping against the ground. You think this is anything? This is nothing, she giggled, hair hanging over her face as her head flopped forwards. You're nothing. All of you. I can't even feel this anymore, you know? It was true. The closest thing she felt to pain right now was the slightest tickling, her body letting her know that she was under attack. With an arm that shouldn't have been able to move, she reached back and grabbed the harpoon that was protruding from her back, gripping it with such strength that the metal bent beneath her fingers. 5 pieces? She went on, blood spilling from her mouth along with the words. You think you can kill me by splitting me into 5 pieces? Huh? Are you stupid? That's so funny! That's messed up. Hey, do you want me to show you something? Since you're all about to die, do you want me to show you something? She looked up, hair falling away from her face, and the thugs facing her turned pale instantly. The face of Marie Hazard was an utter nightmare. Blood coated the bottom half of her face, as if framing the mouth of razor-sharp teeth that grinned madly at them. The eyes above were blood-red too, her pupils jet-black slits that grew thinner even as they regarded their targets. If you want a real chance at killing me, the demon said, you should take a page out of Negan Rush's book and try cutting me into 1,000 pieces! Who the fuck's Negan Rush?
Who knows?
Probably a gene tyrant. Some of the thugs were to let go of their harpoon gun. Is she actually a demon when you say that, or are you just implying she's very scary?
It's very scary.
Some of the thugs went to let go of their harpoon guns and run, but it was far too late for survival instincts. These people had died the second they'd agreed to this plan. Marie was just making it official. She whirled her body around, her wounds healing as she moved, and the 2 idiots who hadn't let go of their harpoon guns went flying, clinging onto their weapons for dear life. Their screams were swallowed by the sheer speed of their movement. One let go, the other didn't, but they met the same fate. Smears against walls. Chains jangling around her. Marie took a step to the remain. See, the fucked up thing about being this kind of immortal is you probably have 0 value of human life, right? Because you don't know what fucking pain and death mean. Staring into Dennis's panicked eyes, she smirked. Not so confident when he remembered his place, was he? What happened next didn't take even 10 seconds. This fight will make you come in 10 seconds. Oh, click.
That's what Alden said to get Dennis to do it.
Yeah. Oh my god, 5 pieces. 1,000 pieces, Negan Rush. So she's some sort of mythological scurrant or gene tyrant or some other... Oh, is she a gene tyrant? Do you think? She's just rewriting her body on the fly? How did the gene tyrants die before? Did they have powers like that? Could they just, like, regenerate?
I will not reveal anything.
Okay, so she's a gene tyrant. That's what you're telling me. She's
can't-
the one. I bet she was the one from Yaslov too. She's like, someone was in my fucking temple. My beautiful fly creature is gone. Dude, she's totally a gene tyrant. There's no way. Her power level's way too. Her power level's way too high to be like other bullshit at this point. Because if this wasn't an easily achievable power, then like Aetheral space fights would be a joke. No, she's definitely a gene tyrant, bro. There's no way. Or a Panacea being. Or a nanobot. She's something. She's something fucky. Definitely a gene tyrant. Okay. There's my question for this week that won't get answered. What is Marie Hazard? Except for a walking hazard, am I right, boys?
Well, thank you for listening and reading. Hopefully you read this as well. Go to click on Railroad and just leave a comment if you like it, maybe. Because the comments help me...
People don't even leave comments on the YouTube. You think they're going to click on a secondary
This
link?
This is a long shot.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.